Shri Gurave Namaha Yasya Kadapi Vasanancha Lakhelanotha Dhanyadi Dhanya Pavanena Kritarthamani Yogindra Durgamagatir Madhusudanopi Tasya Namostu Vrishabhanubhuvo Dishepi. When students come to me and then I tell them of the spiritual life, they often come out with this argument that Swamiji, we will have to earn our bread and butter. So how can we practice what you are teaching us? But the fact is, we are not engaged in the material life only for our bread and butter. Right? The kind of opportunities that this contemporary consumer culture, capitalist culture provides us for the production of greater wealth, it is making us greedy. First of all, why are we engaged in this, developed this kind of a consumer culture? In order to produce as much wealth as possible to enjoy the material nature. The kind of wealth that we produce is called as the spending power. If we have more money, then we are able to enjoy the more of material nature. So the more we enjoy, we will never be satisfied. There is no end to our greed. The greed keeps on increasing. So it's not just a question of bread and butter. Why we are doing what we are doing is not for bread and butter at all. We are just saying it. We are making it as an excuse for not entering into the spiritual life. Otherwise, if you are sincere, then you will be engaged with the material world, with your jobs and with your progress only as much as it is necessary for you, for the maintenance of your family. And rest of the time you will orient yourself to the path of spirituality. But the people, you see, if they are earning 10,000, then they are looking for 1 lakh. And if they are earning 1 lakh, they are looking for 10 lakhs. And they are not satisfied with their earning in India, they are going abroad. It is the greed that is taking them, and only because they have that greed in them, and since they also see an immense potential for the fulfillment of their greed, this is one of the reasons why this world, the material world, is called as Maya also. It always shows you that there is the greatest possibility for you to enjoy this material world. That is why it is called as Maya. But then the more you progress, actually you are developing all this technology and this kind of a culture, which you yourself by doing research is saying that we are all destroying the world. So you are developing your capacity to destroy the world, and ultimately it is leading towards misery. But then you are saying that I am doing all these things for my bread and butter. And only because you have this greed, when some teacher tells you about spirituality, you feel that I cannot do this. Because if I follow the path of spirituality, I will have to detach myself from my greed. And you can never give up that greed. And then you tell your teacher that I have to do all these things to earn my bread and butter. So how can I practice? Right? If you take the teaching, then you will automatically engage with the material world only as much as it is necessary, and rest of the time you try to cultivate your spiritual knowledge and bring your needs down. Even that should not stop you from cultivating the spiritual knowledge. Because spirituality actually gives you a sense of reality. And it empowers you to see what is beneficial for you, how much of it is beneficial for you. But when the parents are thinking about their children, they are thinking about making them to go to the best of the schools, and then after that, from Narayana to IIT to America. So they think of their future like that. But is that necessary for the child to survive? It is, once you have produced children, it is your duty to take care of them. But then you are becoming greedy, and out of this greediness you are trying to cultivate immense wealth. And then you are also making your children greedy. And the more knowledge they develop for accumulating or producing this world, the more they are becoming destructive to the nature. And the more they become destructive to the nature, the more misery they experience from the nature. So you are thinking that by making them into a person who will produce greatest of wealth, you are thinking them that you are producing the best of facilities for your child, but you are giving him the greatest of misery. You see that each generation, you see the violence increasing, the depression increasing. Even small children are getting depression nowadays. Did you ever imagine this happening to your grandfather or to your father? Right? Violence is increasing, perversion is increasing, and consumer culture is increasing, diseases are increasing. In the name of, I have to maintain this child, and that is why I have to create all this wealth, produce all this wealth. You are actually creating a lot of difficulties for them. They are not living more peacefully than you or your father were living. If you have spiritual knowledge, that you know how to use this material wealth. Even if you accumulate lot of wealth, and if it comes to you as a part of your karma, you know how to use this material wealth. The material wealth, artha, dharmasya hyavavargacha, nartho arthaya kalpate, narthasya dharmaikantasya kamo labhaya hi smritah. Bhagavatam says this. Dharma, following the laws of nature, is to attain the Lord, to become spiritual and to develop the love of Lord. Dharmasya hyavavargasya nartho arthaya. The purpose of dharma, following the laws of nature, is not to produce wealth, accumulate wealth. And the purpose of accumulating wealth is not for sense pleasure. As I told you, that the only understanding of the modern people who are producing this immense wealth is that this is spending power. With this you can acquire a lot of things for your sense pleasure. The more wealth, the more things for the sense pleasure. But accumulation of the wealth is not for enjoying the nature and thus going against the nature, eventually creating misery for yourself. It is for following dharma. The more wealth you have, you should use it for following the laws of nature and engaging everybody into distributing this spiritual knowledge to everybody, creating places like this, spiritual places, upasana centers like this, so that many people come and participate in this and then get spiritual knowledge and then be satisfied with their conditions and not be greedy, and thus eventually make themselves miserable.